Namaskar viewers. Today it is Dil Ka Mamla. I have a wonderful, well-established cardiologist and a woman, and she is not only in clinical studies but she is in research and also academics. Currently, she is working with Jayadeva Hospital in Bangalore, and I think she is the right person to talk to about all our problems, all our queries, all our doubts, which we feel we need to know when it comes to heart. And especially after the pandemic, people have gone into the zone of stress and heart related trouble more. And we have almost become half a doctor because we know all the parameters now. So, to get more wisdom on that, I have invited Dr. Nagamani. So, let us welcome her formally. Dr. Nagamani Suswagatam.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for coming. Uh, Doctor, you are working at Jayadeva currently, am I right?
Yes,
Okay. And what is your role there?
I'm working as professor of cardiology. I'm heading the unit, and
Uh-huh.
Jaidava is it's basically a government hospital which caters to the cardiology patients of Karnataka, and
Yes,
we get patients from outside the states as
absolutely. I
well. So
think
we have
everyone's first choice is Jayadeva when it comes to heart-related concerns.
correct. It is because it's affordable care. We cater to all classes, like lower socioeconomic, middle class, and we do get upper class patients as well. Yes.
Wonderful. Sure. Um, Now that we have started the program already, first I would like to understand that how important it is in a daily life we should be looking after our health from the heart perspective.
Yeah, it's very, very important because for any organ in the body to function, it needs nutrition or energy.
Yeah.
So heart is the structure which provides nutrition to all parts of the body for it to function on. So taking care of our heart is very, very important because it is the organ which pumps blood without any rest,
Yes. Yes.
24 hours a day, to all the tissues in the body so that they can function normally.
Right. Okay. Um, Now that this program is specifically based on women, so I would like to ask question in that direction. Women have a natural blessing, which is menstrual cycles, and that is a purification of the system. Does that really help women to stay away from the heart related diseases comparatively as their main counterpart?
Yeah, definitely. Women are, we say, they are protected from heart disease
Mm-hmm.
during the menstrual age group.
Okay.
You know, till they achieve menopause, we say women are protected from heart disease. Means basically it is they are protected from blockages or heart attack related diseases.
Okay.
This is because of the hormone called estrogen.
Uh-huh.
The estrogen increases our good cholesterol levels, which
Okay.
has a protective effect on the heart.
Okay.
So unless they have other risk factors like diabetes or strong family history of high cholesterol or premature heart attack in the family or other risk factors like if they are on oral contraceptives, they are at risk.
Yes.
Otherwise, by and large, they are protected from heart attack related issues during their menstrual age group.
Age group.
Yes,
So let's say on an average up to the age of 50, most of the women are protected.
sort of.
Sort of.
But of late,
Okay. Huh.
last few years, we
Huh.
have been seeing that even that protection we are losing.
Yes.
That is basically because changing lifestyle.
Hmm.
the sedentary activity, then obesity, and other things like smoking. We are seeing
Yes.
many the women getting into smoking,
Yes.
especially in certain fields,
Yes.
and stressful jobs.
Yes.
Women are taking up stressful jobs.
Yes.
And this is all predisposing them to heart disease in younger age group. So slowly that protection is being lost. This is the trend. It's a bad trend we are seeing. But
True.
yes, this is the trend which we are seeing in the last, I would say, 6 to 7 years.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I was about to come to that because I heard in number of cases and very at young age
Mhm.
who are saying that they are a regular exercise people. Only that does not help you. You need to have a overhaul or the holistic approach to the entire health parameter. Doctor, another $1 million question. What is mean by blockage?
What we mean by heart attack? Heart attack happens when there is total blockage of the blood supply to the heart.
Okay.
So we have three major blood vessels which
Yes.
supply the heart muscle.
Yes.
Heart is nothing but a muscle which pumps blood into the all the tissues of the body, and at the same time it receives the impure blood and
Yes.
pumps it into the lungs, and which purifies the blood, and purified blood is pumped into various parts of the body.
Yes.
So when there is a blockage happens in one of the vessels,
Mhm.
that part of the heart muscle
Hmm.
loses its function. That
Okay.
is called heart attack. So that blockage in the blood vessel starts off, or what are the triggers for the blockage? Is like, we have a whole lot of predisposing conditions,
Mm-hmm.
like with aging,
Mm-hmm.
blockages can happen.
Okay.
People with diabetes and hypertension, smoking, they are at high risk. Then again, factors like stress, and there are a whole lot of factors which increases the thickness of the blood, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
All this predisposes to the blockage. So once there is blockage, initially they can have chest pain, but when the blockage is say 100%, blood supply to the heart muscle is cut off in that portion. So that is called a
When is it alarming for a person to know that this is definitely a problem with my heart? Because sometimes I did running, I got little pain, and then it subsided. Sometimes I'm walking on a very steep route, and I'm getting little palpitation, but after some time I have settled down. So when is it really a problem that I must go to a cardiologist?
See, in this issue, God has given us physiology in such a way that, unless we develop a blockage of 70%, more than 70%,
Okay.
person need not have any symptoms at all.
Okay.
Only symptoms appear when the blockage is advanced or the disease is advanced.
Okay.
So more than 70% blockage, people can develop chest pain, or what we call as anginal pain, that compressing pain in the chest on exertion. They will be totally asymptomatic at rest, but when they exert, as you say, like when they walk upstairs, or when they walk uphill, or they carry heavy weights or something like that, exertional activity can bring on pain, but the routine activity they can carry out normally. But when the blockage is more than 90%, so that is the time they may start developing pain even with routine activity. But sometimes, God has given us so much, like other vessels are normal, even with 90% blockage, they may not have any.
Okay, I see.
So it is basically a compensatory mechanism.
Okay.
So one vessel has blockage, but the other vessel provides blood supply to that part of the heart muscle.
Okay.
The people need not have any chest pain at all.
Oh, okay.
So they don't find a reason to go to the doctors at all.
Okay.
They don't believe in that preventive health.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we'll come to that.
Why should I go to a
Why
doctor?
should I go to the doctor? Yes, I'll come to that. The whole idea of talking today is that very much to create an awareness about observing their health very closely, especially women, and
Yes.
going to the medical care as quickly as possible rather than rushing into the emergency situation. I mean, nobody wants to enjoy the siren of the ambulance at the last moment. Doctor, there are three terms which generally, as a normal people, will come across: angiogram, angiography, and angioplasty. First of all, I want you to tell me
Yes.
what is the sequence and what is the purpose.
Angiography is basically a diagnostic test.
Yeah.
Angiography is simply a test to know whether there are blockages in the blood vessels which supply the heart.
Okay.
We know whether there is a blockage or how many vessels are blocked,
Mm-hmm.
what is the severity of the blockage,
Mm-hmm.
whether the blockages are so severe that patient needs an angioplasty or a bypass,
Mm-hmm.
or blockages are mild to manage them only medically. This is the information what we get from angiogram.
Okay.
But we have two types of angiogram. I want people to understand this.
Sure.
That we have two types of angiogram. One is a CT angiogram, which is a test which can be done on an outpatient basis.
Okay.
You don't have to get hospitalized. It is like any CT scan.
And it is not with dye either.
It is with dye. Without dye, we won't be able to see the blockage.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So it is with dye, and it involves radiation as well, because any CT scan test involves radiation, and we give dye or a contrast material, so which will delineate the blockage. Yes, that is a CT angiogram. Another one is an invasive angiogram. Invasive angiogram is where you need to get hospitalized and tubes are passed into the blood vessels which supply the heart through a blood vessel either from the thigh or from the hand, and dye is injected, and the lesions or the blockages can be made out.
I see. Okay.
That is an invasive angiogram.
So, to coming to the very basic understanding is blockage is nothing but a composition of cholesterol or a fat. Am I right?
Yes, it has multiple components. Of course, the major thing is the cholesterol.
Yes. The cholesterol. Okay. And in a layman language, it comes due to the diet, no restriction on diet, rather, no exercise, and as you said, the other habits which are making it difficult. Now, I have heard of another test which is called CT
Calcium
coronary.
score.
Yes, calcium score, exactly.
Calcium
So,
score.
yeah, correlation score. So, it is, I think, without dye. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. How does that help, doctor?
Oh, in as we discussed regarding angiogram, we are using a dye there, and we are seeing the blockages. But CT scoring or calcium scoring, actually, it is a prerequisite before CT angiogram is done.
Okay.
Without calcium scoring, they will not proceed with CT angiogram.
Okay.
So calcium, the presence of calcium indicates that there may be underlying blockages.
That's and what is the range for that?
Higher the calcium, higher the risk of having significant blockage.
Okay.
We have scores from 0 to 400 and odd. So up to 400, up to 100 it is mild, 100 to 400 is moderate, and anything more than 400 it becomes a severe.
I see. Okay.
But it doesn't always correlate with the underlying blockage.
Okay.
No more than 400 score, yes, the severity of the blockage can be more. But it doesn't always mean that they are likely to have significant blockages. But their likelihood of having blockages more. To some extent, you can predict. But one more thing I want people to understand is, if the calcium score is high, it is difficult for the radiologist to do CT angiogram. Angiogram interpretation doesn't happen properly when calcium is more.
That is 400 plus.
Calcium is more, the underlying blockage will not be seen. If the calcium is less, it is easy for us to see the underlying blockage.
I see.
So suppose somebody has a calcium score of 10 or 20 or up to 100, we say, oh, you have very mild disease, just don't bother.
Okay.
It is sort of a rule out test.
Okay.
You can, we can reassure them that, you have either minimal disease or no disease. Somebody has a 0 score.
Absolutely disease. No. Yeah, no risk. Okay.
Yeah. So up to 100, we say mild disease, and more than 400, they won't be able to do CT angiogram. They have to go for invasive angiogram.
I see. Okay. Okay. Now one more technical question in this test once again, because I did little homework, doctor, before talking to you. This test, does it measure the calcium score inside the artery or outside the artery?
See, calcium deposits in the arterial wall of the artery.
Artery of the artery. Okay. So that is what we are doing inside of the wall.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
There are 3 layers of the wall. It can, calcium can deposit in the middle layer and the outer layer.
Okay. Got
not in the innermost layer.
No.
So this will be picked up with the calcium.
Yes. I see. Okay. Got your point. Okay. Yeah. Super. Now moving on to the next question. After the age of 40, as we were discussing, is it advisable for women to do the cardio test because they are approaching menopause, and also, as you say, they have gone through half of their life wherein a lot of stress they have carried, maybe a childbirth is another episode they have gone through. So is it advisable, and what kind of test they should undergo?
See, basically, it all depends on the risk factors, I would say. Younger women, in cardiology, women and cardiology is a different field altogether, sort of. Men, they differ from women because many of the tests, we have what we say as false positive results.
Yes.
When you say women in 40s, yes, they can go through basic tests, which includes blood tests. The risk factors for the heart attack are the blockages, like blood sugar levels, cholesterol levels, a blood count, thyroid function test. All these tests are to be done. Then, depending on their risk factor profile, suppose we pick up ear cholesterol in them, or they have a family history, they are obese, they are sedentary, job stress is there. Based on that, we decide on further investigations. Basic tests are ECG, electrocardiogram, then heart scan or echocardiogram. When it comes to treadmill, it is basically after consultation with the physician or the cardiologist, we decide on treadmill, because treadmill test has what I say a false positive result. It is not as reliable as in men. In women we can get normal blood vessels, but treadmill can be abnormal, creating lot of confusion.
I see.
So based on the risk factor profile only, we just decide on treadmill. Suppose patient has a strong family history or high cholesterol, we may advise for treadmill. Otherwise, we generally discourage. Even a false positive result can, psychologically disturb them, and they start imagining many things, and may not be right for them.
Right for them. Makes sense. Okay. Does the arthritis, which is likely to happen after menopause or even in the old age, can it cause heart disease?
Yeah, we have different types of arthritis basically.
Yes. Yeah.
You're talking of, degenerative arthritis or the knee joint pain,
Yes,
osteoarthritis.
osteoarthritis and the rheumatoid.
Osteoarthritis doesn't have any connection with this.
Okay.
But if they have rheumatoid
Rheumatoid
arthritis
arthritis.
basically involves the hand joints, smaller joints.
Yes.
That's the main joints which get involved. They can have, but it is not so common.
Okay.
If the disease activity is controlled, if they are on proper medications for rheumatoid arthritis, the disease activity, what we say as the inflammatory disease activity, if it is well controlled with medications, the likelihood of having a heart problem is less.
Okay. And I think exercise also helps them to keep that under check.
Yeah, of course, exercise, if you consider blockage issue, exercise helps. But if you are talking of rheumatoid arthritis associated heart problem, it mainly involves the heart valves rather than causing the blockages. Causes what we call as the valve leaks. So it involves the valves of the heart, valve leaks.
Okay.
In that case, exercise really doesn't help.
Heart disease or other heart related concerns, are they different in children and adults?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Children, basically what they have is by birth defects, what we call as congenital birth defects.
Yes.
Congenital heart disease. Yeah. And the older children are prone to develop valve disease. Valves are as you know, there are 4 chambers in the heart.
Yes.
And 2 major blood vessels take from the heart chambers. So these are the valves are the structures which regulate the blood flow between the chambers. So rheumatic heart disease, especially in lower socioeconomic strata, it starts off as a infection in childhood, and it affects the heart valves. It basically starts off with fever and sore throat, and that infection can affect the valves. That is in older children, 5 to 15 years age group. They can develop what is called as rheumatic fever. All the while we were talking of rheumatoid arthritis.
Arthritis, yes.
Rheumatic fever. This can also involve the joints, but this is basically in children. So rheumatic fever, which starts off like fever, sore throat, it can involve the heart valves, and they can develop the valve leaks and the valve blockages. So it is not in the blood vessels, but it is in the valves.
Okay. Got it. And now, after especially the corona side effect, many people have come across blockages, even heart attacks, and some of them have lost their life also. I don't know what is the reason, one, and second thing, what kind of precaution people should take post corona infection is what I'm asking.
Yeah, corona basically, this COVID infection, what it does is it depends on the severity of the COVID infection. Of course, in mild disease or mild to moderate disease, generally it doesn't involve the other organs that much as compared to a severe disease. So severity of the disease is based on how much of lungs are involved, and there are something called inflammatory markers, how much the markers go up. So based on that, they are known to involve the inner layer of the blood vessels. Anywhere in the body, the inner layer of the blood vessels, there is what we call as inflammation.
Yeah.
So when there is inflammation of the inner layer, blood tends to clot there. So blood clotting can knock off the blood supply to the heart muscle. They are more prone for develop blood clots.
Absolutely.
So when we do angiogram for the patients with COVID who have come with heart attacks, what we see is, there is no cholesterol blockage. There is no blockage as in other patients like non-COVID diabetic patients. Almost a clean vessel, but with a blood clot. This is what we tend to see. So they have increased propensity for clot formation, and also the inflammation of the inner layer of the blood vessel, which triggers of the clot formation. This is what happens in COVID patients.
Yes. So is it advisable for the post-COVID care that they should do the some sort of a test or some sort of diagnosis?
Basically, yes, the severity of infection is picked up during the course of the infection, and they are already on blood thinners.
Yes.
Blood thinners are advised for 4 to 6 weeks to cover off that period. Till that healing happens, this risk is more. Now, sometimes they may miss out on blood thinners, or even with blood thinners, they can end up developing a heart attack or a blockage. So, but following COVID infection or 4 to 6 weeks, it's a good idea to get evaluated for a possible heart issue.
This generation is more dependent on a lot of electronic gadgets, and the rays and the radio and the infrareds that it passes. Is it a high risk for the heart related problem as well?
Actually, all these electronic gadgets, they emit radiation.
Yes.
But actually, as of now, there is no scientific evidence to say that this radiation affects the heart.
Okay.
Basically, it is like a collateral damage, I would say. They are stuck with the electronic gadgets for hours together.
Yes.
What we see in them is they tend to have more stress. They tend to be very anxious. They can develop palpitations.
Yes.
And they become more sedentary. Instead of being physically active, they are sitting with these gadgets for longer time, which creates
lack of sleep, lack of rest, and lack of timetable schedule.
Correct. And all this, I've heard that there are so many games which are available, which increases their stress levels.
Absolutely.
And we have encountered people coming with the palpitations and these kind of issues. And as of now, there is no scientific data to back that this is harmful to the heart.
Okay, I see. I heard from one of your lectures that there is a new. I don't know if it is new, but I think it is new. There is iron therapy which is used in case of heart failures. So first of all, how it is essential and at what stage it is introduced?
Okay, if we take iron or iron deficiency, basically it gives rise to anemia.
Anemic condition, yes.
Yeah. You are asking me about a heart failure situation, but before going into that, I'll just say that presence of anemia can mimic a heart attack or typical heart symptom. Say somebody has 7 grams hemoglobin, they will have just typical symptoms of a heart problem. They will have chest pain, they will have breathing difficulty, they will have weakness, and they will come to cardiologist rather than going to a physician. So the typical heart attack symptoms they can have, or anginal symptom they can have.
But it is not heart related issue.
Because yes, when we check their hemoglobin, it is less, and we know that by correcting anemia, it will help solve their problem, because oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is reduced in the presence of iron deficiency. So this similar to this, heart failure. When we say heart failure, heart doesn't have the normal capacity to pump the blood or receive the blood. So it has difficulty in contracting or pumping, and it has also difficulty in receiving the blood.
Blood, yes.
So it is already like a strained organ, and when you have anemia or the blood loss, iron is basically required for all the tissue metabolism.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have reduced blood flow to the tissue, so tissues are already affected. On top of that, if you have iron deficiency, low hemoglobin, the tissue metabolism gets affected some more. So definitely iron therapy in anemia, heart failure, very, very important to improve their symptoms, because heart failure patients basically come with symptoms of fatigue or weakness.
Yes.
I am not able to do this activity. I am not able to
walk.
Activity they won't be able to manage. But when we correct anemia or the iron deficiency, they definitely feel a lot better. Yes, it is not a new therapy, but it has the importance of correcting iron deficiency has been recognized in the last few years, and we have been actively doing it, and it is helping heart failure patients.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Wonderful.
Very useful therapy.
Yes. Now coming to the treatment part segment, the general complaint that we hear is all the medication related to heart is costly, and it is not affordable by everyone. So now that with our government's initiative, Janaushadhi Kendra are selling it at a very reasonable price, and people can afford it. I have got a question asking that, is it compromise quality? One. Second thing, why the medication so costly?
Yeah, see, Janaushadhi, we have been seeing that lot of our patients are buying, and personally, from my personal experience, they have been quite effective. I don't think it's a compromised quality at all.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Okay.
So that is my personal opinion. And the second part of it, why they are costly, it becomes more a political question, I feel.
True. Yes.
Do not have any, control over
it. Yeah.
Pharma companies. So, and the one more initiative I would like to mention about this is, rate control the government brought about.
Yes.
Medicine combined with aspirin costs less.
Yeah.
Any medicine, when you combine with aspirin, the cost cannot exceed a certain limit. It becomes very, very affordable.
Yes.
So this has become very patient friendly. So we doctors try to combine medicine with aspirin so that the cost comes down and
people can afford it.
Affordable to the patients.
Yes. Yes.
So that is one thing which is really helping
people. Yes, definitely. Doctor, now that you just mentioned the blood thinning medicines and cholesterol control medicines is the primary stage of treatment. Am I right?
Yes. Once a person develops a blockage, these two medicines are for lifelong. No question of stopping these two medicines. So these are the primary medicines. Yes.
Medicines. Does it cause any kind of damage to the system?
See, there is no medicine which doesn't have any side effect.
That's true. Yeah.
That one has to understand. Of course, blood thinners are like double-edged swords. Blood thinners are very, very helpful, or I would say they are mandatory once we detect a blockage. Same thing is applicable to the cholesterol lowering medicines.
Yes.
But at the same time, blood thinners, they can prevent this heart events, At the same time, they can trigger off bleeding events
Huh.
because it is self-explanatory. They are blood thinning
Thinners.
medicines.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So this is the bleeding episode. That is the major adverse effect of a blood thinning medicine.
Yes.
So the blood thinning medicines are more dangerous in certain situations. I just like to mention few situations
Please.
where they're dangerous. Suppose somebody has high blood pressure, you know,
Hmm.
they are at risk of bleeding. So somebody has high blood pressure on blood thinners, please take care. See that your blood pressures are under good control. Otherwise, they are at risk of bleeding, bleeding anywhere in the body, but suppose they have a bleeding in the brain, it
Hemorrhage.
can be catastrophic.
Yes.
So elderly people are also at risk, or somebody who has kidney failure or a liver failure, they are at risk of bleeding. Then somebody who is on long-term blood thinners, years together they are taking blood thinners, they are at high risk. And if it is combined with, there is another set of blood thinner which are used for valve replacement surgery, they are at high risk. So there are multiple factors which can predispose. And long-term aspirin, it can give rise to ulcers in the stomach. But they need to be in touch with their doctor because early on in the heart disease, they require double blood thinners. Later on, it can be made only single blood thinner. Yes, few people, they just start medicines, they're all right, and they don't see their doctors for months together, years together.
Yes.
That's the problem. Yeah.
True. Very true. One last question, doctor. With the changing lifestyle, which is a need of the hour because of the professional stress, the demand of the so-called rat race, stress, hypertension, worries, they are the integral part of life. We can't do away with it. To what extent we need to be taking care of ourselves in such a way that we can't avoid but can we delay the cardiac related issues and the hypertension related issues. So anything that you want to give as a piece of advice?
Yes, basically we have to take care of our lifestyle. What we eat, we have to watch out for what we eat, how many hours of sleep we have, how much exercises we do, and how to handle the stress. Everybody is stressed. So how do we handle it? We have to define. I mean, it has to be by ourselves. Others cannot solve our
problems.
People are over ambitious.
Yes.
They aim very high.
Yes.
We have to have a nutritious, balanced diet. Eat more natural food. Eat less of junk food. Eat less of oils and fats. Take more vegetables and fruits. I've seen people who don't eat fruits at all.
Yes.
That is not right. Then try to exercise at least 4 to 5 days a week, half an hour, 45 minutes at least. Be physically active. Don't have a sedentary life. Don't sit in front of the television. Try to do all household activity. Help yourself.
It's not only television, it's a computer, which is a bigger
computer, laptop, whatever that electronic gadget.
Yes.
Try to be physically active, healthy diet, maintain ideal weight, and less of stress, good sleep, meeting up with friends, all this helps. Less of stress. And getting yourself evaluated at least once in 2 years or 3 years based on your age and that is very important. I don't have any symptoms, I don't go to the doctors. That doesn't work. And as I said earlier, till the heart disease is advanced, you will not have any symptoms.
So,
it is very important that we should pick up disease early and treat it, because it may not give us time when the disease is advanced and when we have an event.
Very true. Yes. I think that was what I wanted to hear more important message from you, that no need to wait till the situation worsens. Please check yourself when you think it's a time, aging, stress, or any kind of unwanted situation that you have faced in your due course. Please get the test done and get yourself diagnosed as quickly as possible, so you avoid the high risk and rigorous treatment course. That's definitely important. um, that's all I had, doctor. um,
Okay.
Anything you want to add, please
No,
let me know.
I want to add two things.
Sure.
As I said earlier, heart disease in women is different from heart disease in men.
Men, yes.
Yes. Why do I say that? Is women have totally atypical symptoms, what we call. They may not have the typical, heart attack kind of pain, which makes them reach the doctor early.
Hmm.
They tend to have atypical symptoms, so they are approaching the doctor itself is delayed. And even when they reach the doctors or the hospitals, there are a lot of limitations with the investigations.
Hmm.
As I said, ECG also can show some atypical changes which
Uh-huh.
can be ignored. Treadmill can be falsely positive,
Yes.
or sometimes, even when they have disease, it may not show much.
Mm-hmm.
So all the investigations in women can be misleading.
Hmm. Hmm.
you know so but generally, even though we say there is no gender bias, there is gender bias in cardiology. Women tend to get less investigated and less treated.
Yes, and it is somewhere little bit of reluctant also, doctor.
That is
Um,
there. That is there. There
that's
are
that's
fake.
very high.
They don't reach the hospital early. So basically, when they develop a heart attack, outcome is not good. And the women have fragile blood vessels also.
Yes.
Vessels are small.
Yeah.
The outcome of a procedure is also
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
very.
Hmm.
So all this points towards that women should take extra care
Huh.
to be evaluated, to reach the system early,
Hmm.
to go for investigations more liberally.
Yeah.
And they should not get carried away that, okay, I don't have much
Yes.
symptoms.
Yes.
Symptoms cannot be heart related.
Right. Right.
Please don't do that. You have to take care of yourself, and then only you will be able to take care of your
Support your
family.
family. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very
Mentally,
true. Very important. Very important. Yeah. And one more thing you wanted to say.
yeah, all the investigations have a lot of limitations in women.
Hmm.
So, you just listen to your doctors and
Hmm.
go for further evaluation whenever they say,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
need to
Yeah.
go further.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
very important. And
Very.
take care of yourself. Don't put on weight.
Hmm.
Postmenopausal women, especially,
Hmm.
please see to it that you maintain weight,
Hmm.
be physically active.
Hmm.
That is the time we say, women carry equal risk as men
I
of
see.
developing problems. Yes.
Yeah.
Once they attain menopause,
Yeah.
the risk of having a heart problem is equal to men. That is the time they should really take care of themselves and
Themselves.
see to it that all the risk factors are controlled.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much, doctor, for your time and for
Yes.
that important message and insight about heart. So when they say that all is well. So let us work on it to make it really well and stay healthy. So thanks so much. It was nice talking to you, and thanks for your time.